Hello and welcome to Wish of Wisdom. Today I want to look at the words of Jesus when he says that we should change and become like a child. And I want to relate it to the spiritual circle of the 5 circles model that we use when we counsel people. Let me read the words of Jesus. In Matthew chapter 18 we read this. At the time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child and had him stand among them. And he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." So what does Jesus mean when he says that we should become like a child? Well, what is a child like? There are a number of characteristics we could look at. But I know that children look to their parents for everything that they need. If they're hungry, they cry to their parents. If they're feeling unsafe, they will run to their parents for safety. If they're needing guidance, they would go to their parents. If they're needing comfort, they would go to their parents. Children are so trusting. Absolutely trusting, and part of that is because they see their parents as so big and powerful and clever and all wise. My dad's the biggest, my dad's the strongest, my dad's is the cleverest. So they have that concept that their parents are powerful and can meet every single need. Children are utterly dependent on their parents. And Jesus is saying that we should be like them, that we should run to the Lord for every single one of our needs, that we should see him as all-powerful, because guess what? He is all-powerful, and we can boast about him, but have that confidence that whatever the need is, we can run to him. Our problem is that as we grow up, from being children into adults, we develop strategies, we develop ways of meeting our own needs. We develop patterns of behavior. So I've struggled with the whole thing of people pleasing. And the reason I've worked out that I do that, I don't want to upset people because I want their approval. It's my way of meeting my own need. There are other ways that we meet our own needs. Maybe you're shy and reserved. Maybe you've been hurt. And your strategy, rather than run to the Lord, is to develop that strategy of protecting yourself. Or maybe it's being controlling or worrying. And all of those strategies, all of those behaviors, we develop those patterns of behavior because we're trying to meet our own need. And Jesus is saying, become like little children. The other day, one of my grandchildren stepped on a nail, and obviously it was very painful. And I moved towards him to try and comfort him, and he wouldn't have it. He didn't want me to be there. He ran to his father. And if only that we would do the same thing when we get hurt in this world. We so often develop strategies that will protect ourselves against further hurt. And what Jesus is saying is, be like a child. Run to him for comfort and for healing. As long as we have these strategies, as long as we are adult, if you like, and finding our own way to meet those needs, we're not going to be like children. Jesus is saying what we need to do is become like little children who are utterly dependent on the Lord. That where we look to him for every need, we lean on him, we rely on him, absolutely. When we hurt, we run to him. We know that he is the best and the most powerful and the biggest and the wisest. And so, Jesus is saying, change. Don't work out your own ways of meeting your needs. Change and become like little children. Let that independence go and become like a little child that knows that security and love comes from him, that our sense of value comes from the value he gives us, that our purpose and significance comes from him and him alone. And something scary about letting go of those strategies, but we need to. And as we do that, we become childlike, we become helpless, we become needy, because we are. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And really, poor in spirit is knowing our need. It's that poverty of our own abilities, poverty within ourselves, that drives us to our Father, who can meet every need that we have. I think of that story of the rich man who he said, what must I do to go into heaven? And Jesus eventually said to him, sell everything you've got, give it to the poor, and follow me. And you see, what Jesus is saying is, at the moment you're relying on your riches for your security, for your value, for whatever else. And Jesus was saying, let that go. Trust me for your security. Trust me for your future. Trust me for value. And whatever our strategies are, we need to become like little children, absolutely dependent on Him. I hope that makes sense.